we're going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you that I would absolutely franchise tag him. And I believe that not only will we get our second round pick, but he will get the contract that he wants. And I have very, very recent data to support this. So first, let's do this. We're going to take a look real quick. This is our buddy Bryce Huff. These are his stats for this year. Okay. So we have 2023, this yellow bar right here. So he played 17 games. So he was healthy all year. He got himself 10 sacks. He got 29 tackles, 19 of which were solo, 10 tackles for a loss, and 21 quarterback hits. He did that while playing 480 plays, which works out to 42% of the snaps. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. 480 plays. Now, I'm going to show you this. Let's just do this. There's another guy out there that very recently was traded for a second round pick, okay, to the Chicago Bears from the Washington Red Commanders. Now let's take a look at his seasonal stat. Now, as you can see here, he played Washington and Chicago. So he had 32. I'm sorry, let's start. So he had 12.5 sacks. He had 57 tackles, and he had 14 tackles for a loss and 25 quarterback hits. Those are very comparable numbers. They are higher. They are comparable numbers, are they not? Would you say that they're comparable?
Sure.
12 sacks, 10 sacks,
yeah,
50, right? So we're in the same neighborhood, right? We're in the same neighborhood. He played 763 snaps, 70% for Chicago, 69%. So he's playing approximately, 30%, give or take, 29% more snaps than is Bryce Huff. Okay. Now I'm also going to show you this. I'm going to show you so as soon as he was traded to the Chicago Bears, everybody, for a second round pick, this is the contract that he got. $98 million, $24.5 million per year, 72, 865 guaranteed, 41 fully guaranteed. So he got $24.5 million a year. He played 30% more snaps than Bryce Huff, and he has comparable numbers. If you were to add that percentage to Bryce Huff's numbers, it's figurative, of course, it's hypothetical, but you could make the argument that with 30% more snaps, Bryce Huff's production would also increase. It's more than likely not just going to be stagnant. The only number that would go up would be his percentage. His tackles would go up. His tackles for a loss would go up. Likely his sacks would go up and so forth. His quarterback hits would also go up. So think about that. He has 4 less quarterback hits than Montez Sweat with 30% less snaps. Again, we're talking about 280 more snaps, 280 more plays on the field. He got 2 more sacks, 20 more tackles, and 4 more quarterback hits, and 2 more, I think it was 2 more tackles for a loss. So again, it's not that I disagree with you entirely on whether or not he can be an effective first down defensive lineman, defensive end, but it has clearly the table has been set. The market is there. The compensation is established. It's already out there. And you could make the argument that Bryce Huff just might be a more electric and dynamic player than Montez Sweat because of being able to get those 10 sacks in 42% of the plays, all the 10 tackles for a loss, 21 quarterback hits, all in 42%. There's an argument to be made that if you give Bryce Huff those extra 30%, he might even be able to do more damage than a Montez Sweat, who had no problem getting $24.5 million, and they had no problem giving up a second round pick. So what do you think of that? How do you feel about that?
Okay. Fact? So I don't think it's a fair comparison, because what you're doing here is you're saying, yes, right? Let's exponentially blow up these numbers so that they match up, and magically the reps are going to be there where you can match it up. And that's a really fine argument, right? Saying, look, he played however many more snaps, but I think the failure in the comparison comes in is, one, it's 120 of those snaps that are missing between the two of them are running down snaps, are first and second downs that are pure running sets, where statistically on the tape and just like technically, Montez Sweat is much, much, much better than Bryce Huff. So there's that value that comes in with Sweat that he has shown, who has an extra 3 inches on Huff. Let's not forget that, because Montez Sweat is 6'6", and an extra, I think it's 15 pounds. I think Montez Sweat plays at like 270.
I thought it was 10 pounds. Let's look.
I could be wrong here.
Yeah, well,
I think he plays at 270.
262. He's got 7 pounds.
Okay. But when you look at those things and you say Sweat in the run game is a force positive, he is more likely to get into the backfield, to disrupt a running lane, to force a player to cut back into one of his own teammates. Like, that's what he does. And the other thing that I think you need to look at, especially when he went to Chicago, where he kind of really had a really good year, is what's the supporting cast like in Chicago versus the supporting cast in New York? Is the coverage on the offensive line ever going to slide to Bryce Huff? And the answer is no, because there are 2 to 3 other guys on the defensive line at any given time that are more threatening in a one-on-one than Bryce Huff is.
But you're told where? Who? Where?
Williams, Jermaine Johnson.
But that's on the Jets.
What we're talking about on the Jets.
But hold on. But we've already found out. I think we agree. Even though we desire to keep him, we're not keeping him. So what we're trying to figure out now is whether or not a tag and trade creates a scenario that we are now holding the ticket for $23 million for a player that doesn't deserve it, or are we likely to be able to find a trade partner that will make him happy and give us what we want? That's the side we're on now. So when you look at everybody else's defensive line, not everybody has a Quinnen and a Jermaine and a JFM and all these guys. Not everybody has that. So when you look around the league, now granted, I can't pull from the top of my head which teams we're talking about, but there's no doubt in my mind there are teams out there that are going to be looking for pass rushers. Even if you look at like the Atlanta Falcons this year, what are they predicted to go? In the top 10 of the draft, they're predicted to go with an edge rusher. Why? Because it's a premium position that Bryce Huff has already shown he can give you premium results with less than half of the plays. Less than half of the plays. Dude, if we got guys that are full-time starters and they give you 10, 11 sacks, everybody calls it a successful pass rushing season. Bryce Huff did that in 42% of the plays. So what I'm trying to say is that,
but with 70% of those snaps being pass rushing snaps,
it doesn't matter.
He got put him in the position.
Exact. But what we're talking about, Tigo, is whether or not another team is going to think that he's done enough. Don't forget the other tackles. Look, he's only gotten 10 sacks. So the 30 tackles, the 10 tackles for a loss, those are other players, non-quarterbacks. So he is having his impact elsewhere. He is able to do that. Now, maybe it's a pass rushing down, but it's not a pass passing play necessarily. It is a running play that he was able to get to the guy behind the line of scrimmage 10 times.
Yeah.
He was also able to get he was able to get 19 solo, but 29 tackles in addition to that in 42% of the snaps. So all I'm saying is there is more than enough foundation for a team to think, rather than using a second round pick on some guy that they have no idea what he'll be at the NFL level. They know Bryce Huff is at minimum going to give them quality pass rushing skills, and also to add to that has tacked on 10 tackles for a loss. So he has earned the ability to convince a team that he can produce more. He's only been getting 42% of the plays. There's more than one team that's going to buy into that, evidenced by the Montez Sweat trade. A second round pick is nothing for somebody who's a proven defensive, a pass rusher, even if that's all he ever gives them.